Hello and welcome to Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. This time round we've got an old friend in, really. I've known this car for many years, and it's a family friend who owns this car, so he was a friend before he was a customer. Him and his wife, we socialise with them regularly for many decades, so this really is an old friend. It's come in for a tune-up, and I've got to share this car because it is just a thing of beauty. It's affectionately known as Clio, because of the registration, but it is actually a 1949 Bentley Mk V. An interesting piece of British automotive history. Car manufacturers all over the world really turned from cars to aircraft manufacture at some stage in the Second World War, and then suddenly had a vacuum. When peace came in 1945, what do we make? Because we can't make planes anymore, that's for sure. So they immediately rehashed largely a lot of cars that they were making pre-war and introduced them as post-war cars. And that's exactly what Rolls-Royce and Bentley did, because at this time Rolls-Royce owned Bentley and the two were almost the same car, were marketed differently, but the Bentley was a more highly tuned version of a very low tuned engine anyway. Hence Bentley was the silent sports car, that's what it was called, from the 1930s, and they copied and pasted that into the late 1940s. And this car, it is a Bentley Mk VI. 75% of the Bentley Mk VIs were a standard steel, as it was called, body, which people could buy off the peg, if you will. It was an austere time after the Second World War, and people didn't have the money to splash around, and if they did, they didn't want to show they had the money to splash around. So Rolls-Royce came up with this concept of the standard steel saloon, one body style, made at the factory in Crewe, bodies made by Press Steel Fisher, churned out in the 100 and 1,000 actually, and they all looked the same, different colour schemes, and the Rolls-Royce and Bentley had the different front end, curved bonnet on the Bentley, and a more straight angular design to follow the Rolls-Royce Palladian radiator shell. This is the silent sports car. It was based on a Rolls-Royce, just to get technical for a moment, it was based on a Rolls-Royce Wraith chassis, but it used the B60 engine with what's called the F-head. So it's overhead inlet and side exhaust, so sort of encompassing two different levels of technology. But this is not a standard steel car. This is very special. This is what's called a coach-built car. So in 1949, for the very privileged few of the very privileged few, you could buy your Bentley or Rolls-Royce as a rolling chassis with chassis, running gear, engine, gearbox, back axle, suspension, brakes, and the bulkhead, steering column, and the instruments. You could buy that as a package with no body on it, and then you had the privilege of sending it to your chosen coach builder, of which there were quite a few still in the 1940s. They would sit down with you. They had the most amazing artists who could just knock up an artist's impression of a body style, and you say, yes, please, no, thank you. And the coach builders around even then were, before I tie myself up in knots with coach building history, some of the coach builders on the more traditional formal end of the proceedings were Barker, Hooper, and H.J. Mulliner produced some more elegant designs. Gurney Nutting had a very famous sort of swoop, which was their signature style. Beautiful. These were towards the more elegant end of the spectrum. You occasionally had Suchik or Figoni and Falaschi that made incredibly exotic designs, but somewhere in the mix was this coach builder, Freestone and Webb, who were towards the more sporting and rakish end of the spectrum styling wise. Years ago in the 1990s I rebuilt a Rolls-Royce Phantom 3. We can get a photograph up of that outside my workshop at the time, with a Freestone and Webb sports saloon body, and it was, for such a big car, it was a very elegant body. But we get to this car. This is one of two built, two of this design by Freestone and Webb. It's a pillarless coupe, so there's no B pillar here. It's mainly hand-formed aluminium, the bodywork. The bonnet is steel, various things, the sunroof panel, the fuel filler cap are steel, but the rest of it is hand-formed aluminium. and quite extraordinary. I mean, as I say, they made two of these. They made a wooden lattice work frame, a buck up, that they then hand rolled the aluminium to fit based on the design. This was 3D art on a massively skilled level in the 1940s. But the other remarkable and amazing thing about the level of skill and expertise involved in this was that when they were sent the chassis, the rolling chassis from Rolls-Royce, the Rolls-Royce / Bentley factory, they finished this car, including constructing an entirely new body, in 3 months. They made the whole body, trimmed it, made the seats, the dashboard, the doors, everything in 3 months from when they got delivered the chassis. Coach building art on probably, I'm going to say on an unparalleled level, just extraordinary to be able to make something so beautiful in so short a space of time. Unpaint it, polish it, do the hand-painted coach lines. I mean, the whole shooting match from start to finish. It's a very elegant car, this actually, typical of Freestone and Webb, as I say. The engine is the famous Rolls-Royce engine that went on. It was developed in the 1920s and it lasted right into the 1950s with the 4.25-inch bore centres in between cylinders. That measurement was significant. They never changed it. They just altered the stroke, the length of the stroke that the pistons would travel. Very tried and tested engine. This particular car, it's aged beautifully. It's not fresh from a ground-up restoration. Peter has kept it in this magnificent condition for some years. I'm charged with tuning the engine on it because it's got a little bit lumpy. I'm not quite sure. I mean, normally if an engine is rebuilt and all the compressions are up to scratch, everything's beautiful on it. Normally I can tune these, and we used to be able to balance a coin on its side when they're idling. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this because the engine is not fresh. This car is an old lady, a very graceful old lady. So we'll see how we get on with tuning the engine. And I also have something very interesting planned for this car as regards a road test. We're going to take it to the first ever dedicated Grand Prix circuit in the UK, the first ever racetrack that was purpose-built for motor racing. Forget Silverstone. A lot of other racetracks, they were converted, decommissioned RAF airfields. The airfields normally had a triangular runway layout, so whichever way the wind was blowing, the aircraft could take off and land. And around the outside was a perimeter track, a perimeter road, right round the outside of the airfield. That's where Goodwood came from. That's where Silverstone came from, where a lot of racetracks came from. I'm going to take this to the dedicated track, and it's going to be a very special day because it's the 70th anniversary of the 1955 Grand Prix Formula One race at this particular track. And the drivers who've driven there include Fangio, Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, the list goes on. So we're going to combine one bit of British history with another. Let's see how we get on with tuning this 1949 4.25 litre Bentley Mk V. Well, I'm going to demonstrate, bearing in mind the time scale that was involved in making this, just to show even more how remarkable it is. I'm going to show you some aspects of British quality cars in the 1940s because it is beautiful, absolutely lovely. I started my working life working on cars like this, Rolls-Royce and Bentley. But here's just to release the bonnet, the hood. This is like something from a vault at Fort Knox. They took this sort of thing incredibly seriously. There you are. Absolutely beautiful, a work of art. I'll just close that again. I mean, the bonnet catch is very substantial. And what a piece of engineering. There we go. That's going nowhere. Okay, and next, the door, bearing in mind that this door is 70 years old, I'm just going to close this with my little finger. There you go. Absolutely gorgeous. Still perfection. And then we have this. We just walk round to the back. Again, this is the coach builder's art as a thing of beauty. We put that in there. It's got a spiral thread on the end there. Just put it in there, turn it, it locks, and there we have the boot. And here is the toolbox, the original toolbox from 1949, still complete. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. And here is the original torch that plugs into the dashboard, plugs into a socket on the dashboard. Absolutely gorgeous. We gently close this again. Do that, and then unscrew the handle. How about that? Well, I've gone through the ignition fuel systems on this. The tappets are nice and quiet. The exhaust valves in particular can wear on these engines, the side exhaust valves, and therefore they don't seat properly, which causes flutter, as Rolls-Royce calls it, at idle, which means it sort of misses and won't run absolutely perfectly smoothly. To start removing the exhaust valves and putting new guides in and things like that is a massive job. So we just leave well alone. I've done my initial tune-up with it. Sometimes they need 2 or 3 goes, these actually, to get them to respond. But it's there or thereabouts. You certainly can't balance a coin on it, but it's better than it was. And I shall now start it up. It's not bad. It's purring very nicely. It sounds beautiful, but maybe it's the best that can be done without overhaul work on the engine. And why would you need to? The oil pressure is still excellent. It's compressing nicely on 6 cylinders. It sounds sweet. I think we just leave well alone and enjoy it. That's the executive decision for the moment. I'll have another bite of the cherry, but yeah, it's not too bad really. Maybe we can get it better, but are we chasing rainbows? Maybe. Well, I'm actually driving on the Aintree circuit in Liverpool, the car race track, which hosted the British Grand Prix for several years. First of all in 1955, which is why I'm here, accompanied by an original C-Type Jaguar worth millions, 3 racing minis doing a bit of a faux Italian job, and various other cars. And the reason for this is it's the 70th anniversary of the British Grand Prix here, the first British Grand Prix at Aintree. And what better place to road test this amazing piece of British history. This is not a race, this is parade laps, and just see if the car actually is still a piece of beautiful precision engineering from 1949. And spoiler alert, yes, I think it probably is. We are again further round the race course, and this tarmac on the right, incredibly, is the original tarmac. We are now driving on the original tarmac of the Aintree racing circuit from 1955. This is believed to be amongst the oldest tarmac in the world. This is the original track that Stirling Moss Jackie Stewart, Jim Clark, all drove on this this patch of tarmac. Absolutely incredible piece of history. Well, that concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe, it makes a difference, and we'll be back with something else very soon.